Jaguars. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
The ball came out. And the Packers, I believe, have it at the 4-yard line of Jacksonville.
No, I mean, I need to play well. It's the same thing every week, though. I'm not putting any more pressure on myself. It's gotta play well. I gotta play well every week to get a chance to win. That's just playing quarterback in this league. It's
Trevor looks, fires toward the corner of the end zone, and that ball is caught! Somehow caught! Evan Ingram went up. He out-jumped 3 defenders. He was not going to be denied.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we would count ourselves out. I'm definitely not saying that we're going to count ourselves out, but now it's just to the point, getting into the season, once you get into like the late November, December, those are the games that you really need to win, especially with the divisional opponents that we have coming up on our schedule and things of that nature. We just want to keep digging and get ourselves out of this hole. Like, we know the season isn't over until it's over.
I think what you're seeing with Philly right now is they're catching their stride a little bit, and they're playing well together.
rough day for us in Philly. Just the weather was bad. I didn't play well. Had plenty of opportunities to win the game. We had a big lead early and let them back in the game. So I remember that one and don't want to feel like that leaving Philly this time.
Game day is underway. This is the Terminix Kickoff Show on 1010XL. Presented by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch. Here are your hosts, Hayes Carline and Mia O'Brien.
A special 11 a.m. start time to the Terminix Kickoff Show, while despite your Jacksonville Jaguars being flexed out of prime time on Sunday Night Football, they will be playing at 4 o'clock Eastern today in prime time over on CBS and, of course, heard here right on the Superstation. Hi, everybody. Mia O'Brien alongside Hayes Carline, as I am each and every week, but live from 1010XL World Headquarters here in Duval County. Dylan Denmark keeping us on the air, and a tremendous ode to Philadelphia in his open, a place, Hayes Carline, that from everything I've heard this week from our comrades up in the city of brotherly love is still a place that Doug Pederson could walk into any restaurant, have his meal paid for, even if he has never actually seen the statue with the likeness of himself outside of Lincoln Financial Field.
Yeah, it's great to be with you, and it's nice, this 11 a.m. start for the kickoff show.
And we gained an hour.
Yeah,
apparently Dylan didn't know that was a thing, but daylight savings, folks, is a thing. In case you think that it's noon right now, you still have 2 hours before the 1 o'clock time slot of NFL games kicks off. Yeah,
everything falling into place, and Doug should be revered up in Philly. It was a miraculous run to that title, losing Carson Wentz when he's having an MVP caliber season late in the year. Nick Foles comes in, who, was sort of a journeyman. It had some good moments, but, no one really, everybody thought that the Eagles would collapse when Wentz went out. And they, they go and win the whole thing. So, it's obviously now it's been a while, but it's, in terms of Philadelphia and the way they see it, I would think Doug Pederson will be, one of their icons in terms of, what he was able to do, bringing them their first title. It's a shame that it doesn't look like that's going to happen here because Doug got off to such a great start. But now you're looking at a coach that's 3-11 in his last 14. He's 20-22 overall, and he's a sizable underdog today. And he needs a 7-2 finish, to really have any chance of competing for a playoff berth. So, we heard Trayvon Walker in the open, and he's dead on. Their backs are against the wall. They are in. It's a must-win situation from here down. If you win like 4 or 5 in a row, then it becomes okay. You can lose a game, but until they're able to beat a quality team, they're out of mulligans, and I think we'll get into all the matchups today. I think it's going to be awfully difficult for them to go up there and take down what I think is a very physical street fight Eagles squad that also has a lot of talent.
We will get into that matchup for certain. A 2-6 Jaguars squad heads up to Philadelphia to face a 5-2 Eagles team. We will hear from multiple folks live, boots on the ground, up in Philadelphia. We also will look at our keys to the game, brought to you by Instant Keys and AFC South divisional roundup. But first, Hayes Carlyon, I want to remind the folks at home of all the different ways they can interact with us over the next 2 hours. There, of course, is the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at 641-1010. We are also live streaming from here at 1010XL World Headquarters on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Several of you are already very upset with me that I am rocking a green sweatshirt. It's not just a green sweatshirt, folks.
Yeah, it's Terminix.
It's Terminix. This is the Terminix Kickoff Show, and as I told both you and Dylan as I entered the building, Hayes Carlyon, our friends at Terminix have been so great to us as our title sponsor of this program. They got us these wonderful sweatshirts, and it's 85 degrees on November 3rd. So This may be one of my only opportunities, even leading into January and what we hope will be a playoff run for your Jacksonville Jaguars somehow, some way. I don't think I will be able to wear this sweatshirt thanks to global warming. So that is why we have to rock it, take advantage while we're in the studio. And, of course, we thank our friends at Terminix for powering today's program. Of course, before we dive into today's matchup, Hayes, let's take one last look at the Jaguars' loss to the Green Bay Packers 1 week ago today.
Shotgun, inside handoff, Josh Jacobs into the end zone, touchdown. A 3-yard touchdown run for the Packers, and Green Bay strikes first at Everbank Stadium. Running play, that's Josh Jacobs, too much room, made a man miss, 30. Inside of 30, broke a tackle, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Josh Jacobs is into the end zone. He just went 38 yards. Josh Jacobs broke a bunch of tackles, exploded up the left sideline, and he is re-giving Green Bay the lead with 21 seconds to play in the third quarter.
The Jaguars fell 30-27 last week at the hands of the Green Bay Packers and a walk-off field goal by their former kicker in Brandon McManus. But more than anything, Hayes, yes, we will have to discuss that 58-yard throw from Malik Willis, of all people, that set up that game-winning field goal, and that is certainly a conversation worth having. But the reason that I wanted to lead with those 2 touchdowns from Josh Jacobs, this is a Green Bay team that was down to its backup quarterback who dropped back a grand total of 5 times. He was 4 of 5 for 56 yards in the passing game. Josh Jacobs and company ran for 170 yards. Jacobs for 127 of those yards, a 5.1 yard per carry clip. I tweeted it midway through the game last week, Hayes. The Jaguars entered week 8 as a top 10 running unit. It did not look like a top 10 run defense unit on Sunday against the Packers.
It did not. And, again, this gets into another real concern and really, I think, an underplayed reason why the Doug Pederson era is looking like it's going to be 3 years and out here. And it's been the inability to put the right person in place of the defense. Mike Caldwell did not do a good job. I was excited about Ryan Nielsen. I thought that I was a little surprised that Doug didn't hire a guy that had been doing it for like 20 years in the league, like a Ron Rivera, somebody like that, more of a grizzled guy. But because Nielsen had been a defensive coordinator for fewer years than Caldwell. But when you started to hear more about Nielsen, started to, hear Nielsen talk and you started to feel really good about things. And unfortunately, it's just been a total bust. I mean, Ryan Nielsen has just not been able to get his message across to the players, and they've been multiple breakdowns, and it's been real unfortunate. I mean, Doug Pederson it looks like, missed on both defensive coordinator hires, and that's the thing that's I think so. It's something that I think makes today a real challenge for the Jaguars because the staff isn't good. Press Taylor isn't good. No one is going to hire Press Taylor to run an offense whenever this ends. And obviously Ryan Nielsen's probably now looking at being a defensive line coach in this league at best for a number of years before he ever gets a third shot to be a defensive coordinator. You look at the other side. The Eagles have Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio against Press Taylor is a Tyson versus Spinks mismatch. I mean, it is about as big a mismatch as you could see.
Print the shirts, folks.
In professional football.
I think you said this about another DC at some point over the last 8 weeks.
Well, when we were doing
Taylor.
the schedule, we were putting up the schedule, our wins and losses, and you had a comment for each game. And I put up a loss for Philly, and I said, Vic Fangio is going to eat Press Taylor for lunch. And he's going to, because of Doug's reluctance to just call the plays. And look, it doesn't get much better on the other side. I think Kellen Moore is pretty talented as an offensive coordinator. And certainly Philadelphia's done a great job assembling a great line and weapons, around Jalen Hurts. Kellen Moore against Ryan Nielsen, I have no reason but to think that that's going to be another severe mismatch for the Jaguars. And yes, getting back to, it's the same thing with LaFleur. LaFleur dominated Nielsen, as you would expect based on what we've seen. So it's really, it's really been, I think Doug Pederson by himself is a good head coach, but I think he's delegated too much, and I think he's hired a really poor staff. And it's ultimately, I think, what's going to end up, being a big reason why he doesn't get a fourth year here.
I don't want to put this all on Ryan Nielsen, though, the loss last week to Green Bay, because the Jaguars offense did put up an old goose egg in the first quarter. They are in the bottom 5 in scoring in both the first and fourth quarters this season. And certainly the play of the quarterback at times was to blame on Sunday.
Dropping it to blitz. Trevor hangs in there against the blitz. Scrambles to his left. He hits and the ball's fumbled. The ball came out. And the Packers, I believe, have it at the 4-yard line of Jacksonville. Now, there's a flag on the far side of the field, but Trevor has fumbled, and I think the Packers recovered it at the 4-yard line of Jacksonville.
So Trevor Lawrence had 2 turnovers last week. And if you're box score watching, if you're looking at this from a national perspective, I think that's what a lot of people have zoned in on, Hayes. The fact that he fumbled the ball on his own 5-yard line in an attempt to escape an oncoming pass rusher. Probably a move that, in my estimation, is the most boneheaded play he's had through 8 weeks of the season, which, hey, that's a better rate than we've had the last 3 seasons. Yeah. So we will take that growth and we will run with it. Trevor Lawrence did bounce back to throw for 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for a 3rd. The offense, in large part, existed thanks to him and the play of the tight ends, especially with not 1, not 2, but 3 wide receivers going down throughout the course of the game. But I do want to call back the question that you asked Doug Pederson post-game. And Dylan, I believe we have that quote ready. Let's just hear, Hayes Carline, what was the question that you asked Doug post-game regarding Trevor?
Just the fact that he was able to guide that touchdown drive minus 3 receivers. I just thought it said a lot about Trevor Lawrence.
I think, yeah, he did a nice job. I give a credit to those receivers and those tight ends and the offensive line. Those guys, they made plays for him. Right. Now he made some really good throws and all of that, but those guys that were playing at the end of the game, when you're down your top 3 receivers and you're playing in your 12 personnel for the rest of the game, that's tough. But the guys battled their tails off, got us back to tying this football game with a chance to potentially win it there late. So hats off for those guys.
That quote was taken and run with on social media after you asked it, Hayes, and I think it's because people have questions about the head coach's confidence in his young quarterback. I think he does a little bit better of a job in his conversation with Frank Frangie, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson on Friday, which you will hear from now, in which he explains that he has the most confidence in his young quarterback.
The coach speaks. Jaguars coach Doug Pederson joins Frank Frangie right now. Presented by Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
All right, now let's say hello to the coach, Doug Pederson, who joins us now as he gets set for his trip to Philadelphia. Doug, how are you, man?
Oh, Frank, doing well. Thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, hey, we'll get into Philly in just a second, but I got to start with this note. For coaches are close to players. I know how close you are to your players, and I know how much you like Christian Kirk, and I hated it for Christian to see him go down again. How hard is that for a coach, for a guy that how hard he worked and what a good teammate he is? What's your feelings when you see something like that happen?
It's one of the hardest things, as coaches, because you get attached to, players and your team, and you're absolutely right. A guy like Christian, the way he works, the way he presents himself, he handles himself like a professional. He represents the team in the right way, represents himself, and I just know how hard he works and puts the time in, and to see something like this, we all know it's part of the game, and it's going to happen and can happen to anybody. But for me personally, it's hard to watch, and hard to kind of experience, especially the good ones, go down on your team.
Yeah, and I get it. From a football standpoint now, Parker Washington's the slot guy that replaces him. Tell us a little bit about Parker. Look, he's had a good offseason and a good start to his season, I would think, hasn't he, Doug?
He really has, and we've been impressed with Parker since we drafted him. And you're right, he had a great offseason, really good preseason, and it's hard for a guy like Parker too, because he sits behind Christian Kirk in everything that he does. And so now he really gets an opportunity to go out there and compete. And he filled in nicely a year ago when Christian was down, and all of that. So looking forward to watching him play. Obviously, he's a competitor. He's tough. He does everything right. Trevor has a great rapport with him. So we don't get much of a drop off when Parker's in the game. That's for sure.
Let's talk about your other guys who've been banged up a little bit. I know Brian Thomas Jr., Gabe Davis, Travis Etienne with the hamstring are trying to get back. As we sit here on Friday afternoon, Doug, any feelings on those guys, or too early yet?
Well, it's maybe a touch early, but I'll tell you this: both Brian and Gabe did a great job this week in practice. Both guys practiced all week, and they practiced through their injury, which is a credit to them. They could have easily said, "Hey, I'm not going to practice till Friday or Saturday or something like that." But both guys, gutted it out and showed some toughness there, and so I think it's really going to come down to game time, quite honestly. For both of those guys, and so we've got some practice squad activations with possibly Elijah Cooks, with Austin Trammell and Joshua Cephas. So we'll make a decision tomorrow, obviously, but both guys did a great job in practice, and hopefully they can play. Awesome.
That'd be great if they could. Walker Little becomes your left tackle now. Tell us what Walker Little brings. He's a physical player. He's a run blocker. He's very good. Tell me all the things that Walker Little brings now as he becomes the full-time left tackle, Doug.
Yeah, Walker, like you said, he's a really good run blocker at tackle. And he does a nice job in pass protection. He started off last week, maybe a touch shaky, but really settled into the game and did some great things last week. And now he's had another full week of preparation. And he's a veteran guy too, so he knows how to play. He's big, he's physical, and really excited to get him going now at left tackle and watch his career kind of take off from there.
All right, so you go back to Philadelphia. I loved your answer this week. I told you this. They asked you if you're going to go see the statue. So you haven't seen the statue yet, but you've pretty much decided you're not going to tailgate, right? Is that kind of where we are?
Yeah, exactly. I won't tailgate, and I won't go see the statue.
It's a special trip back for you. I know it is, though. I know you've got friends back there. What's it like going back to a place where you had so much success?
Yeah, it's always good to go back to that place, and you're always going to be remembered for the championship team and the championship year, and it's just an honor to have that on your resume and all of that. But the other thing too is we're going back to try to win a football game against a good team and take our team in there, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and compete and do some good, and so always a special place, will always be a special place, but at the same time we know we got business to do once we get there.
Doug, tell us about that football team that you've seen on tape, the Eagles. Obviously they were 2-2. They've won 3 times now since their break. What do you see when you see them on tape?
I see a team that's starting to play better offensively. I think we know that everything's going to run through Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, that offensive line. They got some weapons on the outside. They may be down one guy, Dallas Goedert potentially. He's a really good tight end who was there. We drafted him a couple years ago there. So it's a good offense, and it's a run first, and play action movement second, and they're doing it at a high level, and so it's going to take all 11 on defense to really at least slow down the run game, make Jalen put it in the air, and then just play sound defense, try to create some takeaways, and then on defense it's a typical Vic Fangio defense. I mean, these guys are, again, got some young players in the secondary, but they're playing well. They're playing good together. It's a big physical defensive line. I would say if there's any, if there is a weakness, it's hard to find, quite frankly. just because of the nature of what they're playing, and they disguise a lot of things. They'll bring up timely blitzes and pressures, so you got to be ready. And they make you go, the long way. So we got to be ready for that and take care of the football, and we got to score in the red zone.
Final thing, Doug, as you get we're about a halfway point of the season here now. Can you keep your and I know it's the challenge for all coaches, and I get it, but can you keep your team focused on just today, not watching the standings, not getting caught up on what happened yesterday? And I get it. You're dealing with 53 guys here, but is this team at a good place with regard to that, do you think?
I think so. I think that they're focused on what we're trying to do and accomplish, and but I do think they do. They do keep one eye open around the league and see what's happening, even in our own division, and where that's going. And listen, we've got to. We've got to figure out how to just win a football game. We've got to clean up some mistakes. We've been in other than the Buffalo game, really, and the Chicago game got out of hand. We've been every game we've been in, had a chance to win it, maybe in the fourth quarter. And now we've just got to overcome that. We got to be able to learn how to finish a little bit better, and then get the ball to bounce our way here in the second half of the season.
All right, Doug Pederson checking in. Well, here, tell you what, Doug, I'm not going to tailgate either, but I am going to go look at the statue. So I'm going to tell you what it looks like after I walk around and stuff. But hey, man, thanks for spending some time all these Fridays. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Okay, thanks, Frank.
And our thanks to Renewal by Anderson for bringing you Coach Pederson each and every Friday on the Frangie Show. You will hear once again from Frank Frangie as he's going to join us on the other side live from Philadelphia. Excited to hear Hayes Carlyon if he has indeed visited the statue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of Doug Pederson in the 24-plus hours since the Jaguars arrived in Philadelphia. Again, lots of ways to interact with us live from 1010XL World Headquarters this morning on the Terminix Kickoff Show. We have the MyBookie Digital Studio chat line on YouTube. Stop by, leave a comment, leave a score prediction. Questions, concerns, hit us up there or the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at 641-1010. You are listening to 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Play-by-play just makes everyday life better.
I did not see this one coming.
Get the most play-by-play on 1010XL, Jacksonville's play-by-play sports radio.
I'm Clayton Bromberg, the president of Underwoods. One of the biggest changes we've seen in fine jewelry over the last 25 years has been the growth of jewelry designers. At Underwoods, we're the leader, bringing to North Florida the best names in designer jewelry. In fact, we carry designer lines in a similar way to how clothing stores carry designer labels. The difference is that jewelry designers have to be a little more timeless in their presentations because nobody wants to buy a fine piece of jewelry only to find out the next year it's gone out of style. That's why you'll find at Underwoods the best of the jewelry designer names, those that are tried and true and popular. Names like David Yerman, Roberto Coin, John Hardy, Marco Bichigo, Jude Francis, Lagos, Hippolyta, and a lot more are all available right now at Underwoods. So if you want the best looks in designer jewelry, stop by Underwoods, San Marco, Avondale, or the shops upon Avedra.
If you're tired of your fence looking like a bad hair day, well, it's time for a fence makeover with Superior Fence and Rail. They'll make your yard the talk of the town with a new fence installed by their expert team.
Your fence is fantastic. My fence is giving all of my neighbors some serious pick and envy. Thanks, Superior Fence and Rail.
So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your fence installation project today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com. Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting. Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called The Vault. Enter today at everbank.com/shadows. One winner and a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry periods for the Shadow Sweepstakes promotion from 8/19/24 to 12/15/24. For official rules and complete details, visit everbank.com/shadows. Sponsored administrator, Everbank NA, member FDIC.
Mr. Chubby's in Ponte Vedra is the place to be for the Jags game Sunday at 4 o'clock against the Eagles. E.T. will be out there with prizes and beer specials from Bud Light. So join him for a chance to win Jaguars tickets, plus plenty more at Mr. Chubby's in Ponte Vedra, Sunday at 4.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey. Here in North Florida, you know that when temperatures go up and your AC goes out, you need help now. Like right now. Like lickety-split. So why not call Lickety Split and get same-day emergency service for your AC? Now, I bet you've seen their trucks all over town because they've got dozens of certified technicians ready to repair not only your AC, but your home's plumbing and electrical too. So when you want it done right and you need it done right now, call Lickety Split AC Plumbing and Electric.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Hacker here. By now you've probably heard I dropped over 100 pounds with Awaken 180. And now we want you to come celebrate with me at Mr. Chubby's Wings in Ponte Vedra for a Florida-Texas watch party. Saturday the 9th. Yep, we'll celebrate my weight loss with great food at a Gator watch party. And for a chance for you and a guest to win a free tab at my table, text the word Chubby to the 1010XL text line at 641-1010. Plus, I'll have ticket giveaways and more fun at Mr. Chubby's in Ponte Vedra.
Injured in an accident that's not your fault? Don't worry, Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan at Von Rowan Law, and over the past 20 years, I have fought to recover millions from my clients throughout Jacksonville. If you've been injured in an accident, have mounting medical bills, can't work, don't worry. Zach's got your back. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve and will be there every step of the way. Go to Zach'sGotYourBack.com to set up your free consultation with me today. Zach'sGotYourBack.com.
Bull riding. The perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's the Michelob Ultra PBR Jacksonville at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, February 22nd and 23rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
You just heard him with the head coach, Doug Pederson, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, and now he joins us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. He is the voice of your Jacksonville Jaguars, live from Philadelphia, PA. It is Frank Frangie. How are you, my friend? Did you get a cheesesteak yet?
I did not have a cheesesteak. Had a big steak because it's kind of what I do. But good morning, Mia and Hayes. And it's going to be chilly here today. Beautiful day here in Philadelphia, but I think the high is going to be in the mid-50s, and I think at night, when it's dark at about halftime, it's going to seep into the mid-40s. So a different kind of game here today. But good to be with you guys. How's everybody?
That sounds like sweatshirt weather, Frank, which I once again have to give the disclaimer for those just joining us on the MyBookie Digital Studio live stream. I do have my Terminix sweatshirt on, which is Kelly Green, and it's upsetting some Jaguar fans out there. I'm excited for you, though, that you do get to experience some sweatshirt weather on this, the November 3rd day of the year of our Lord 2024, because, of course, it's 80 degrees here in Jacksonville. I am curious, the weather obviously being as beautiful as it's expected to be up in Philadelphia is certainly a far cry from the last time these two teams squared off in Pennsylvania, in which they were playing in the remnants of Hurricane Ian. And I would like to think, because it came up more often than I expected this week, Hayes and Frank, that is a little bit of fire lit underneath this Jaguars team for those players that are still here from that 2022 season.
Maybe a little bit, Mia, but I think they've got bigger things to worry about than what happened a few years ago. this team's got to find a way to win a game. You know, I think some players were here, and it was dreary. For people that don't remember, the Jags got off to a good start, and it was dreary and rainy, and it was an ugly finish. It's going to be cold tonight now when this thing finishes up, too. I mean, it's going to be cold for probably the coldest game these guys have played in this year. By the time, remember, it's stated standard time now, so it's going to be dark at halftime. So I think that, but they got bigger things to worry about. They've got to find a way to. You just heard Doug say it on the interview. They got to find a way to win a game. This isn't about what kind of happened a few years ago, or what happened last week. They've somehow got to find a way, because the Texans are good but not perfect. Because you're still looking at 9 games left, you still have something to play for. Now look, that's fleeting right now. Every time you lose a game, it's fleeting even more. But I think this is still a team that believes there's something out there, but it's got to start with a win today.
Frank, will the Jaguars be able to block the Eagles?
Well, that's the question. The Eagles have a very good front. I mean, the Eagles are a physical football team. And you, Hayes, we talked about that. On both sides of the ball, can you block them, and can you provide any pressure at all on Jalen Hurts? Look, as the season moves on, and we look at what's gone right and gone wrong for the Jags, Hayes, obviously the lack of physicality in the trenches is probably the storyline. Now, there's been a lot of other storylines. They're 29th in the league in total defense, so that's not just the front four. But if I had to put my finger on one thing, they've not been very physical, and I think the physicality is a big part of it. And now, we talked about this, when you had to play those 4 straight NFC teams, all of whom are physical teams, the 3 North teams and the Eagles today. That's the whole point. So I don't know. I don't know if they can block them or not. If not, it's going to be a long day. I would think you're going to get the ball out quick some. They've got to try and run some, though. I'll say this. They're a more physical offensive line with Walker Little than Cam Robinson. I don't know if they're a better offensive line, Hayes, but they're a more physical offensive line with Walker Little, and let's see what happens.
Frank Frangie joining us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline here on the Terminix Kickoff Show. He, of course, will be on the call today at 4:05 p.m. with the Hall of Famer Tony Baselli, Jeff Lageman, Bucky Brooks right here on the Superstation. Frank, this morning, Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network reported that Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne Jr. are both likely to play today, barring a setback. The same for Brian Thomas Jr., although, quote, Gabe Davis appears to be more of a long shot. What are your expectations for the health and the playing availability of those 4 players?
Brian Thomas is going to play. I think Tank Bigsby is going to play. I think Travis is going to play. Gabe's the one I'm not sure about, and I say that I don't know that. I'm just telling you what my opinion is. I know this, and you heard Doug saying in the interview. Brian Thomas really wants to play, man. He is really wanting to play. Gabe Davis is really trying to play. So I would be, if you ask me to guess, and I'm only guessing. Gabe's the one I'm not as sure about. But I will tell you, midweek I would have thought Dewey had a chance to play. Now he's out, so you never really know how the end of the week's going to go. But I would guess most of the players you mentioned are going to play. Gabe's the one I'm not so sure about. But I think those other guys, look, man, they got to play, man. Again, you're up against it now. Anybody that can play in this football game, I think, is going to play.
What do you think the defensive game plan should be for the Jaguars?
Well, obviously, as Doug said in the interview, Hayes, everything goes through Hurts and Saquon. I'd stuff the line of scrimmage. I think the Jags have not been much of a blitzing team under Ryan Nielsen. And the few times they blitzed, I thought it worked. I thought crowding – now, look, the 51-yard pass at the end of the game last week came with a crowded box, so it didn't work that time. But I think for the most part, crowding the line of scrimmage, I think that's what they've got to do. I don't think the tackles have played well, Hayes. The defensive tackles. Devon Hamilton had his best game the last game or two, but he has not played well. They haven't found that other tackle. They keep rotating. Jeremiah Ledbetter's in there some, and Tyler Lacey's in there some. And when Mason Smith's healthy, he's been having the ankle of late. He's in there some. But they haven't been able to find that. Eric Armstead, they've played him outside, not inside, other than in nickel. So they haven't been able to find that. I think you got to crowd the box a little bit. I think you got to make them throw it over the top. Obviously, they've got good receivers. Devontae Smith is such a good receiver. A.J. Brown's a good player. But I would make Jalen Hurts beat me as a passer, not let them just beat on you and beat on you and beat on you, because that's how the Eagles like to win the game, right? I would try and stay away from that if at all possible.
I'm curious, Frank. This is a Jaguars team, and we led off the program with this, that has really struggled against mobile quarterbacks. Why is that? Let's just throw that out there. Why is it that it looks like they could contain, yes, on one foot, and I know Tony Baselli and Jeff Lageman were in pain next to you in the booth last week. Why can we not get pressure on Jordan Love? But then why is it that Malik Willis comes in, he's not a capable thrower, and it was as if the Jaguars were shocked by his ability to run? I
think they've struggled against anybody running the football, whether that's a running quarterback, whether that's a good running back, Josh Jacobs last week. Back to what we've talked about. I don't think they're physical at the line of impact, as physical as they'd like to be. In my mind, again, if you looked at everything, look, why are you 2-6, not 6-2 or whatever, right? And there's always answers. In my mind, Mia, the thing that has really maybe hindered them the most for me is the inability to be physical at the point of impact defensively. I think that's so, whether it's a running quarterback who you can't get to, whether it's a running back who slices you up like Josh Jacobs did some last week. The dagger last week, for me, was not just the 51-yard pass. It was the 80-yard drive after the Jags went ahead 17-13. Mia, it was 8 plays, 80 yards, and they threw one pass, a 4-yard pass. The rest of the drive was handoffs to, for the most part, to Josh Jacobs. I don't know that they're physical enough at the point of impact. If they've missed it all from a personnel standpoint, that's what it would be. The physicality at the line of scrimmage defensively for me.
I really liked what I saw out of Trevor Lawrence late in the loss to the Packers last week. How do you expect Trevor to play today?
Well, I think he's played well, Hayes. Good Trevor's really good. We all know this by now. When Trevor messes up, it's not that he's not locked in. It's usually that he's not missing guys. He missed some guys early in the season. If he makes critical mistakes. He made 2 critical mistakes last week. The fumble can't happen. He knows that. Yeah, when Trevor gets into a rhythm, I thought that drive at the end of the game, I think that's what you're talking about. I thought that drive at the end of the game, with all of his receivers out, with only one really reliable, veteran, dependable receiver in Evan Ingram, was masterful against a good defense. I think that's the shame that they didn't win, of them not winning the game. I thought it was a masterful drive. I thought he was magnificent in that drive. Trevor's been far from perfect, but he's not the problem. You guys hit on it. The defense is ranked 29th. But I think Trevor will be very good today, and it'll be a good day to throw the football. Again, it's going to be cold, but clear, not a cloud in the sky, not a lot of wind from what we're hearing. It'll be a good day to throw the football, and I think the Jags are going to have to throw it some.
One more from you, Frank, before I ask your X factor on both sides of the ball for your Jaguars and then, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles. The team did elevate wide receiver Elijah Cooks and wide receiver Austin Trammell to the active roster for today's game by a standard elevation. Of course, we know Christian Kirk is lost for the season. We saw this team in 12 personnel most of the home stretch of that loss to the Green Bay Packers. What's your expectation in terms of sharing the receiving targets, if you may, over the course of today's game?
Yeah, and it goes back to the question you asked a moment ago, Mia, who's going to play. If you don't have Gabe Davis and you've got young receivers out there, I think you got to go 12 personnel. For people that don't know, that means 2 tight ends. I think you got to go 2 tight ends. I think Brenton Strange is evolving. He's a pretty good football player. Evan Ingram, you know what you have. So I would think the personnel available would almost mandate that or dictate what you have there. You got to run the football some. We all know that. You hope to have both backs, which we think they're going to. I think they're going to. Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets. So I would be surprised if they don't do that. But I think a lot of that comes down to what players you have available. As for the elevations, look, Austin Trammell gives you a guy that can catch punts if you need to. Yeah, you got to figure out how much workload you want on Parker Washington, who's a good punt returner. But you know he's going to be very involved in the game plan no matter who plays today. There's going to be a lot of Parker Washington. You stick Austin Trammell back there and let him fair catch a few punts. He's got great hands. Elijah Cooks is a guy that can go up and get the ball, so he's a high point guy, and you don't have a lot of that. So it'll be interesting to see the way they use those 2 guys. I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them in the football game at some point.
All right, Frank, who is your X factor for the Jags and your X factor for the Eagles in today's matchup?
For the Jags, it's those 2 linebackers. Devin Lloyd played better, Mia, last week, but it's got to be Foye Oluokun and Ventrell Miller. If they can control Hurts and Barkley, or let me say this, keep Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley from controlling the game, controlling the time, controlling the tempo. You control the game on offense, not defense, because offense has the ball. So offenses want to control the game. If Ventrell Miller and Foye Oluokun can upset that a little bit, disrupt the tempo, disrupt the plan, I think they're absolutely critical for the Jaguars. For the Eagles, it's pretty obvious. It's Jalen Hurts. The team's built around him. He's a different kind of quarterback. He's physical. No one ever says a quarterback's physical, right? Quarterback's fast. Quarterback's got a big arm. Quarterback's multi-talented, like Jaden Daniels, and do everything. But there's no physical quarterbacks. Tim Tebow was a college physical quarterback, right? I think Jalen Hurts is the pro version of a physical quarterback, and how he plays is how the Eagles. How he plays, Mia, is how the Eagles go. This is a big one for the Jags now. This is again. It's getting late, man. It's getting late you have to always believe you're in the playoffs till you're not, right? There's no why play if you don't believe it till you're eliminated. Well, that belief wanes every time you lose one of these. So big game for Jacksonville today.
And with daylight savings in effect, it gets late early up there in Philadelphia. Frank Frangie, of course, will be on the call today at 4:05 p.m. with Tony Baselli, Jeff Lageman, and Bucky Brooks. We look forward to it, Frank. Go get yourself a cheesesteak before that game kicks off in a little over 4 hours.
That's the first priority. Thank you, Mia and Hayes. Take care.
And we know he already had that steak. We had a feeling that was coming when I asked him, I think, Hayes.
A tradition.
It's a tradition unlike any other. You know what else is a tradition unlike any other? The Farah and Farah injury update. We've hinted at some updates throughout the course of the first 40 minutes of today's Terminix Kickoff show. Let's hit it head on coming up next right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1. Frangie and Hicken on Mondays. 2. Denny Thompson and Hacker on Wednesdays.
Who's counting?
1010XL now has 2 original Gator podcasts each week.
One for you and one for me.
Search 1010XL Florida Gators wherever you find podcasts or visit 1010XL.com.
Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Go with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
Being an athlete means having a healthy desire to do as much as you can with your body for as long as you can. Gatorade has lower sugar, electrolyte-backed hydration options to keep you rehydrated and replenished. Gatorade, for every athlete.
From Gatorade Zero to Gatorade Endurance Formula and Gator Light, there's something for every athlete. Find it at your local Winn-Dixie. It's a win-win. Gatorade, official partner of the NFL.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
It's not just about relaxing. Fishing can be exciting.
That's a big fish in the box right there.
Captain Kevin and the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show. Brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss and Veterans Wholesale Cabinets.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010 a.m.
Bold City AC, heating that rules.
Is your AC ready for the holidays? Bold City Heating and Air ensures your AC stays in tip-top shape. We know that a clean AC is a healthy AC. Upgrade yours for just $96 a month and enjoy free duct cleanings with your new system. Plus, ask about our 0% financing options.
Bold City AC, we got the crew. Bold City AC.
Visit boldcityac.com.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5. Clearwater scores.
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJax.com.
This college football season, we're celebrating more than touchdowns. It's time to honor playmakers of the classroom. Thanks to FIS and the College Football Playoff Foundation, Gator Bowl Charities is surprising 16 local teachers with $1,000 each week. Every honored teacher gets a special invitation to the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl January 2nd to be celebrated on the field. Teachers from Clay, Duval, Nassau, and St. Johns County, grades K through 12 are eligible. Nominate a deserving teacher today, and let's score big for education at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com.
It's a force that can't be contained, propelled by purpose, pride, and the power to protect.
When winning isn't just the mission, it's your passion. You pursue it.
You make power plays.
Aim for fences.
And go for end zones.
You believe that your moment is now.
At Farrah & Farrah, we deliver game day energy 24/7.
If you've been injured, put our force to work for you. Jacksonville.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Dandy subs and sandwiches. Look, we always want you to think about those great options as you're driving around Duval. But the beauty is, even as I'm dropping pounds, Dandy's got great options for me as well. Told you all about their protein packs, delicious salads that they have out there. They have fruit cups for on the go. You know what they have. Veggie snack trays. You can grab those on the go as well. Perfect, healthy snack. Dandy is the name to know when you're on the go. So stop into a Gate store anywhere around Duval and make yours a dandy, and do it today.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. The personal injury attorneys of Farrah & Farrah present this injury update. Farrah & Farrah,
Jacksonville.
Exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
As you heard us mention to Frank Frangie when he joined us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline, Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne both expected to go today, although both have been designated with a questionable game status. Ditto to the duo of Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis at the wide receiver position, although Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network reporting that Gabe Davis, a bit more of a long shot, his exact words, to play in today's game up in Philadelphia. Meanwhile, along that offensive line, Ezra Cleveland already ruled out, did not travel to this game. Cooper Hodges, the pride of Baker County, expected to make his first career start at the left guard position. Brandon Scherf did practice for the first time on Friday in a limited fashion with a knee injury. He is listed as questionable for today's game. Mason Smith, the other player, already ruled out for this contest and did not travel with the ongoing ankle injury, although he was limited all of last week. And as Frank Frangie also alluded to, Hayes Carlyon, Keelan Robinson's 21-day window was activated last week. He already has been ruled out for this game, although he was a full participant all last week. And Andrew Wingard's still making his way back from that knee injury, a limited participant all week. He also has been ruled out of today's contest for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I tell you what, I love Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, the fact that he is a rookie, looks like he's going to try and battle through this. That is a tough injury. He plays with such, we love his breathtaking speed and ability to make a catch downfield, but he's a good blocker, and it's something that he really takes a lot of pride in, and it's going to be hard today. I mean, that's something that, to have to try and block for Tank and for Travis when you're dealing with a chest rib issue. It speaks a lot about his toughness and his drive. So not only is he a great player, it looks like from a wired standpoint, you couldn't have more of an early consummate pro, which is just fantastic to see because obviously he could be here for hopefully 12, 15 years.
You mean he's not just going to tap his head and say, I need a little bit of a break.
Right.
I feel tired.
I'm not going.
Well, we'll get to Anthony Richardson later in today's program. Don't you worry, Gator fans. And, of course, that consummate pro mentality, Hayes, it's even more needed because Christian Kirk was officially placed on the reserve injured list with a season-ending collarbone injury yesterday. You're going to need to see Brian Thomas Jr. not only continue the production, but need to be that pros pro emotional leader on the field. Not that Gabe Davis can't fulfill that void left by Christian Kirk, and Parker Washington certainly is a pros pro, although he maybe hasn't had the playing time that could suggest as such. But you need to see Brian Thomas Jr. grow up quick in light of Christian Kirk's injury.
Yeah, without a doubt. What are your expectations for Parker Washington?
Yeah, we didn't even get the chance to ask Frank about it. Hopefully we'll get to ask Rick Ballou a little bit about it coming up in the 12 o'clock hour since he's also in Philadelphia. I'm excited. And you'll hear during our X Factors and during our keys to the game from a couple other players in the Jaguars locker room. No one, and it's not just because he tweets it after each game, no one defines that mentality of chop wood, carry water more than Parker Washington. He is a quiet guy, yes. He's soft-spoken, but he truly is a guy who just goes out, he does his job. I believe, and this is from conversations with people around the building and from speaking with Parker himself, when he was thrust into action in that Monday Night Football game last year when Christian Kirk went down with the injury, look, we heard Trent Baalke say it all off season. The onboarding was a question mark coming into 2024. I don't believe Parker Washington had the grasp of the playbook, and certainly he's a rookie. In the words of Quincy Williams, your rookie year, your head's in a beehive to begin with. I'm not so sure he actually really had a grasp of the offense. He was just going out there based on feel. Now he has that grasp of the offense. And that's why I'm really excited because, look, let's not bury the lead here. His catch rate at Penn State is among, historically speaking, the best in college football history. He doesn't drop the football, knock on every single piece of wood you can find. He did drop, obviously, some passes last year. Everyone does. But this is a guy who, despite his size, can get up and go get it. He's not going to be a high ball specialist in the red zone. But as we saw in his first career touchdown, he can make those acrobatic plays that, if anything, I don't want to say he's a more athletic Christian Kirk, but you probably could have the argument if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I think it's exciting to see his growth. And, look, obviously Christian Kirk's an outstanding player, but this is a fantastic opportunity for Parker Washington. And I don't think the conversation in like 4 weeks, assuming Parker stays healthy, is, my God, what a chasm with Christian Kirk being out. I think Parker's in a much better place to help fill that void. You're still obviously losing something, not having Christian, but I think Parker is ready to step in and to still give that position some productivity and give Trevor Lawrence, a quality weapon that he can still go to.
Only 2 players ruled out for the Philadelphia Eagles, an incredibly healthy squad, although it's 2 starters, Hayes. Dallas Goedert, the starting tight end, and, of course, cornerback Darius Slay, the pride of Brunswick, Georgia, both ruled out for this game. It's significant losses, but as we know, this is a deep Philadelphia Eagles team that will simply have a next man up mentality.
Yeah, I'm surprised after Goddard saw Kraft basically waving his arms downfield 50 yards last week, that he was like, my hamstring, it's healed. I'm ready to go. Because he'd have been sitting on at least 75 yards and probably a touchdown in this matchup based on what we've seen. But yeah, Goddard's he's a really underrated player, and he's a good all-around tight end. So that is a loss. Now, to your point, he's been out now like 3 weeks, so Philadelphia's been playing without him, so they'll be accustomed to it. And then, yeah, big play Slay being out is huge for Philly's defense. It really surprisingly doesn't get a lot of turnovers. I mean, they're sort of like the Jaguars. I think Philly has, they've gotten 4 takeaways this year, and the Jaguars have gotten 4 this year. So neither defense really is a ball-hawking unit to this point in the season. So, that's a loss. But again, Philadelphia is so deep that I think the players the Jaguars have out are way more of a problem for the Jaguars than the Eagles and what attrition they're having to deal with.
Let's head into the locker room. I caught up with a cornerback on the Jaguars side that certainly is going to be a lot asked upon him today. Once again, that is the third-year corner, Buster Brown, out of Arkansas. Ronald Darby does not have an injury designation for this game, Hayes, but the expectation is that you will still see that rotation as Tyson Campbell continues to get his sea legs under him after spending weeks 2 through 6 on the reserve injured list. Here is Buster Brown. Pleased to be joined with Jaguars cornerback Montaric Buster Brown. Buster, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Too. I'm doing great.
Yeah, how are we feeling about old Woo Pig Sue right about now?
We feeling good, man. We came in off a good dub versus Mississippi State. Just trying to hope they carry it on to next week.
And I'm sure you're hoping that good juju comes here to Jacksonville. Describe for me last week, when you looked back at the tape. Obviously some good things, the final result's a loss, but what do you make of that performance by the defense as a whole last week?
I know my performance, I kind of came out slow. Me personally, I came out slow. I wasn't playing as well and, hoping to start fast as I did the second half. But the defense, I think we did great. I mean, we had got off the field a lot of times on third down, and, we're just trying to continue that.
Walk me through the rotation between you, Tyson, and then Darby goes down. Then Trey comes in. What was that like for the 4 of you?
It was unexpected, but, it's a great rotation. All guys can do anything, can play both spots, boundary and field. So just seeing those guys get reps and, they did great when they was in, so it was good seeing that.
With how much playing time you got last year, obviously it was in light of Tyson's injury, but how much did that prepare you for an expanded role this year?
It prepared me a lot. I gained so much knowledge from the game, and, the game slowed down even more. And, it helped me more. I'm out there playing more comfortable and making plays.
Page is turned. We're on to Philadelphia. Obviously a big challenge with those two wide receivers, let alone the rest of that offense and the playmakers they have. Walk me through the Philadelphia offense.
They got an explosive offense, great running back, great receivers. So we're just looking forward to stopping their weapons and just making them earn every yard and, just stop those key guys and stopping first down, second down, third down, getting off the field.
When I say A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, you say?
They're good receivers.
Mm-hmm. What is it about the two of them? What is it about their dynamic together and their game that's made them some of the best in the best wide receivers in the league?
They can run routes. I feel like they can do everything around the field. Run routes, block. All the things a receiver has to do. So I feel like they got the weapons for that.
How much pride do you take in run defense? More than perhaps other corners.
I take a lot of pride in it. A lot of people don't know I was a safety before I moved to corner. So I feel like that safety instincts just helped me. I feel like that's a strong part of my game, and I enjoy it.
The thumper role. I think that's maybe not necessarily something people think about when they think of a corner. A couple of tackles for loss. Emotionally, what is that like when you bring someone down behind the line of scrimmage?
Man, it's a great feeling. That's why we play the game. That's why I play the game. Just to bring pain into other players. So I enjoy it, and man, just looking forward to making more plays like that.
Can you compare Saquon Barkley to any other running back you guys have faced?
Nah, you really can't. He's his own guy. He's a great running back, great downhill runner. So he's really different.
I know quarterbacks that are mobile have sometimes presented challenges for this team and this defense. Jalen Hurts, what is it about his escapability that makes him elusive?
He's a great guy with great legs. So, our D-line just have to do their job and just keep him into the pocket.
Last one from me. This locker room, I've said it to a couple of guys. I said it yesterday. At 2-6, you would think you'd see finger pointing, people down. You guys are still up. The spirits are high. Why is that?
We just a family. We know what it takes to turn it around, and we just sticking together. We're not pointing the finger and just not blaming anybody. So we just staying strong and just trying to get on the right track.
You gonna get any cheesesteaks while you're up there?
I might. I'm not sure.
Have you been to Philly before?
Yeah, I have. This is my second time. I've been here
your
first year.
Yeah,
my first year. So, I might try something.
Did you get a cheesesteak then, or did the hurricane get in the way?
Oh, the hurricane got in the way.
All right. Well, this time you're going to do Philly right.
Oh, yeah,
and come away with the dub, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
There we go. Buster, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I feel like I've referenced cheesesteaks too much. That's too stereotypical, Hayes. I need to give some love to Chicky and Pete's, the crab fries. The pizza in Philadelphia is underrated. Something besides the cheesesteaks.
Great interview, and he really seems like he's got a great disposition. So hopefully he'll play well today. It's obviously a challenge. A.J. Brown, Slim Reaper. So we'll see. But really does seem like a good Jaguar there.
Before we get ready to go behind enemy lines with an old friend alert. Yes, old friend Ashlyn Sullivan, now with NBC Philly, going to join us coming up in the 12 o'clock hour. Let's hit our X factors for today's game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Philadelphia Eagles. Hayes, you asked me literally just a few moments ago, and my answer is Parker Washington for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here is not only his Jaguars teammate, but his Penn State teammate, Brenton Strange, on what the second-year wide receiver can do. Jaguars fans going to see from him now with this extended, if you may, audition over the next 9 weeks?
Oh, a lot. That man's a good player, really good player. He's slept on by a lot of people. The whole NFL slept on him when he was coming out of college because, he's probably best player on offense in college. Most receiving yards and everything. His highlights are unreal, and he's only gotten better. I talk to him every day. I'm like, bro, keep looking better and better every single day. He's looking more explosive because I've seen him since he stepped on campus. I'm a year older than him. So I'm really proud of Parker and everything that he's been able to put together, and keep doing that, keep getting better, keep grinding.
What's the Penn State memory when you think of Parker Washington?
Y'all got to look it up. We played in a whiteout. I think it might have been our last year there, but we were playing Minnesota. Parker went up, caught a pass. It might have been over 2 people. Caught it, and then I'm just there's a picture of it. I'm sitting in the back, and I'm like, oh my God, that just happened, because that boy's a dog, man. It never surprises me, the stuff that he's able to do. He puts a lot of work in, and he deserves everything.
Yeah, it's the acrobatic playmaking ability that I think is what's slept on. People look at Parker Washington, they think route runner, they think slot receiver. I think he can flex out and play outside. He's going to be asked to do that today with a depleted Jaguars wide receiving core.
Without a doubt, I'll say Devon Hamilton. That really the entire defensive front. Look, if Philly loses this game, if the Jaguars can stymie them early, which Philly's had a really tough start this season in the first quarter. They've yet to score a point in the first quarter, which is shocking. So if the Jaguars are able to limit Saquon early, force Jalen Hurts into some tough down and distances, force some incompletions, like that crowd will turn on Philly quick. So that is a good start to a path to victory for the Jaguars. So if Devon Hamilton, if that inside, I'm not expecting them to get after Hurts because they haven't done that all year. But if they can at least be stout with Saquon running between the tackles and force some 3rd and longs, maybe you can get Philly frustrated early, and maybe that can sort of carry throughout the entire game. Obviously, Philly tends to get going as the game goes along. But get those fans agitated. Get them booing the home side. We know what a loose cannon Sirianni is.
I was just going to say, it was only a few weeks ago. I didn't even know if Nick Sirianni would be coaching in this game.
Absolutely. And so, Devon Hamilton, I think, has been playing really well, and, hopefully that'll continue. And it's not just him, but the run defense has got to slow down Saquon early and hope that Jalen Hurts can't overcome that.
Let's get the inside scoop, the vibes inside of the Lincoln Financial Field Philadelphia Eagles camp with Ashlyn Sullivan, formerly of the Jacksonville Jaguars, now, of course, with NBC Sports Philadelphia. Ashlyn will join us next, coming up on the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade. Don't go anywhere.
When pests invade your space, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, we show up for you and eliminate pests quicker because we care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so do we. Don't live with a pest problem. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Dandy subs and sandwiches. Look, we always want you to think about those great options as you're driving around Duval. But the beauty is, even as I'm dropping pounds, Dandy's got great options for me as well. Told you all about their protein packs, delicious salads that they have out there. They have fruit cups for on the go. You know what they have. Veggie snack trays. You can grab those on the go as well. Perfect, healthy snack. Dandy is the name to know when you're on the go. So stop into a Gate store anywhere around Duval and make yours a dandy, and do it today.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at everbank.com/shadows. One winner and a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry periods for the Shadow Sweepstakes promotion from 8/19/24 to 12/15/24. For official rules and complete details, visit everbank.com/shadows. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A. member FDIC.
Break in the savings this fall with Universal Roof and Contracting. Enjoy 15% off all roof repairs and replacements, plus a free wind mitigation inspection. With financing options as low as $115 a month, protecting your home has never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP. Offer expires November 30th. Protect your home and your wallet.
License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
When they were little, the other girls played with dolls.
Aww.
They played with footballs.
Who's that? Yes, it's us.
Helmets and heels.
From the First Coast Lighting Studios at 1010XL.
Weekdays noon to 2.
Some girls have all the fun.
If you're looking for custom metalwork, look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Whether it's custom railing, shade structures, or custom entry gates, their expert team controls the turnkey process. From CAD design and raw metal to powder-coated finish and expert installation. When you choose Superior Fence and Rail for your custom metal project, you get a project that's, well, superior. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail today.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey. Here in North Florida, you know that when temperatures go up and your AC goes out, you need help now. Like right now. Like lickety-split. So why not call Lickety Split and get same-day emergency service for your AC? Now, I bet you've seen their trucks all over town because they've got dozens of certified technicians ready to repair not only your AC, but your home's plumbing and electrical too. So when you want it done right and you need it done right now, call Lickety Split AC Plumbing and Electric.
This college football season, we're celebrating more than touchdowns. It's time to honor playmakers of the classroom. Thanks to FIS and the College Football Playoff Foundation, Gator Bowl Charities is surprising 16 local teachers with $1,000 each week. Every honored teacher gets a special invitation to the Taxpayer Gator Bowl January 2nd to be celebrated on the field. Teachers from Clay, Duval, Nassau, and St. Johns County, grades K through 12 are eligible. Nominate a deserving teacher today and let's score big for education at taxpayergatorbowl.com.
Hey, sports fans, this is Hayes Carline from MyBookie. Have you hit any bets yet this week? Our listeners have been killing it, betting with MyBookie, turning spreads, over-unders, and prop bets into straight cash. It's Florida-Georgia week. On Saturday, the action pops off with the Florida Gators a 16-point underdog to the Georgia Bulldogs. The over-under game total is 52 points. This will be one of the most bet games of the weekend, so keep an eye on the lines. You know it doesn't stop there. On Sunday, you have projected shootouts with the Cowboys versus the Falcons, 52-point over-under total there. The Dolphins-Bills game total of 49, and Lions-Packers, the game is 48-point total. Jacksonville goes to Philly as a 7.5-point underdog to the Eagles, and then you cap it off with Sunday Night Football. The Joe Flacco-led Colts travel to the Vikings. MyBookie still has that double deposit bonus. It doubles your money on your very first deposit. Sign up now with promo code 1010XL and make yourself a winner with MyBookie.
This is the flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM and FM. Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL. Home sweet home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now let's go behind enemy lines. Behind enemy lines. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
I don't know, Hayes Carline, if Duval would identify this person as an enemy, someone behind enemy lines, because it was not too long ago that Ashlyn Sullivan was the team reporter for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, of course, she is with NBC Sports Philadelphia, and she joins us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Shlyn, what's up, friend?
Hi, friends. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we are doing fantastic. It is so nice to hear your voice that, of course, I feel like I've only heard on video at the various Philadelphia sporting events that you've been covering over the better part of the last 2 years. And that includes the Philadelphia Eagles, who I know you're in the locker room with each and every week. So let's begin big picture. How do the Eagles view this matchup with the Jacksonville Jaguars? The Jaguars coming in at 2-6, the Eagles at 5-3. Or 5-2, excuse me.
A lot of people are trying to talk about this game like it's a trap game. Most reporters, when they posed the question this week in the locker room, they voiced it as that as a trap game, and players weren't going there. I mean, they said that they haven't played well enough to consider anything a trap game. Definitely for the Eagles, the past 3 weeks have been much more to the standard of what they believe they should be playing as, but it was a rough start to the season. It was very bumpy under these two new coordinators, offensive and defensive, getting the schemes where they want them to be. The Eagles finally feel like they're in the place where they need to be in that regard, but no secret. I mean, Jalen has turned the ball over a couple of times a couple weeks ago, and it's definitely a thing still where they need to see more consistency here with this Eagles team to believe they're true contenders. So they don't view this game with the Jaguars. They said they're throwing records out the window. It's not a trap game. They got a really big schedule coming up, but from what they tell us, they need to handle business here in Philadelphia today.
Hey, Ashlyn, it's Hayes Carline. Great to talk with you again, and congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Saquon Barkley, what has he meant to the Eagles in year one, and how do you think they'll employ him today against the Jags?
It's very clear with Saquon Barkley. I mean, when they signed him in free agency, we knew this would be a huge thing for this Eagles offense. But I don't think any of us expected Saquon to have the impact that he has so quickly right away. And it's a big report coming out today with Philadelphia is a couple weeks ago when the Eagles had a really early bye week. offensive lineman went and sat with Nick Sirianni, including Lane Johnson, and said that they wanted to run the ball more. They wanted to get Saquon more involved in this offense, and you've seen exactly that the past 3 weeks, and no secret, I think that's why you're seeing the Eagles back to that identity of a hard-nosed football team. I mean, it sounded fun. It was a big buzzword when Kellen Moore was hired here that it was going to be this RPO, a lot of motion. It was going to sound really cool, and we saw some of it in training camp, but frankly, really the first month of the season, it just wasn't working. The Eagles aren't built to run that type of offense, so they've had to go back to more of a ground and pound running football team, and I think you're seeing it pay off. So I expect Saquon Barkley to once again be the heavy hand here with this Eagles offense.
You can find Ashlyn still on X at Ashlyn R. Sullivan, and of course doing a great job covering all things Philadelphia up for NBC Sports Philly after spending quite a few years with your Jacksonville Jaguars. Shlyn, let's address the two players who have already been ruled out of this game for the Eagles. It's two starters. Yes, this is a deep Eagles roster, but what does the loss of Dallas Goedert, I know this is now the third straight week that he will have missed, but what does the loss of Dallas Goedert and the loss of Darius Slay mean for this Eagles team?
And just how you say it, because this Eagles roster is so deep, and I get Dallas Goedert is a major part of this Eagles offense. Truthfully, I don't think it's detrimental to the success of this team. Grant Calcaterra, the backup to Dallas Goedert, has been playing really well, and the amount of weapons that this Eagles offense has, we always joke, Jalen doesn't have enough footballs to get them all involved. And that's why I think you see 1 week Devontae Smith having a huge game, and then the next week it's A.J. Brown. So he's going to rely more on his receivers, that's for sure, with Dallas Goedert out, but Grant Calcaterra can definitely carry the load. And Saquon Barkley, I still don't think we've seen nearly as much as we saw in training camp and preseason of him being utilized in the passing game. So I think that's definitely still a wrinkle they can implement. Slay is the big one. That's for sure. Quinyon Mitchell on the opposite side, the Eagles' first-round pick, has been playing great. So Isaiah Rodgers will go in for Slay today. And Rodgers, this is his first start of the season. But he's a veteran presence to the point where we thought he was going to be the starting corner outside against on the opposite of Darius Slay earlier this year. So you don't expect too much of a drop-off, but I would say between the two injuries, Slay is definitely the bigger one.
What's the buzz on Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter?
The buzz is getting better, but truthfully, with most of those Georgia guys, that was such a high-profile picks here with the Eagles, they haven't played up to the standard of their draft picks. Jalen Carter's getting there. Jordan Davis has been a bit of a disappointment. Here in Philadelphia, they're not seeing the numbers they would like to see. With that said, I think the pass rush and the defensive line is playing much better the past couple of weeks. But to start the season, they put a lot on a new Vic Fangio system. They put a lot on a really young defense. But I think when you look at this pedestal of all these Georgia guys, Nolan Smith is another one that you can throw in there. Everyone thought they were going to be explosive from the start, and we really haven't seen that expectation here in Philadelphia. And this is the year where they got to show up, because if the Eagles don't hit on all these Georgia guys, these draft picks, they're going to have some problems here for a couple of years.
Staying on the defensive side of the ball for the Eagles, Shlyn, Cooper DeJean, of course, and I know you'll laugh as I say it, is a name that I have been very familiar with in my in my familiarity with the Iowa program. Is it true what local Philadelphia radio personality John Kincaid told us on Helmets and Heels earlier this week? Is it true that there are lines of women trying to date Cooper DeJean and he's the toast of Philadelphia despite missing the first 2 weeks of the season?
I don't know that. I actually think Cooper DeJean has a girlfriend, so that is
there we go.
Breaking
news.
In Philadelphia.
There we go.
I want to say he does. I can't confirm nor deny, but I want to say he does. So very funny that you say that. But Cooper has been awesome here. I mean, he is definitely a guy where they brought him in. We weren't sure where they were going to use him, but credit to his versatility, because he's playing a position that he told us this week he hasn't played in a very long time, and he's making an impact. He's really impressive. He's very calm demeanor in the locker room, and then you see him on the field, and he's just got that edge to him that I think this Eagles defense really needs. I mean, especially when you look at the end of last season and how it ended for the Eagles in a very upsetting fashion. They didn't have enough playmakers on defense, and you're seeing already very early in his career, Cooper definitely has that.
What do you think worries the Eagles the most about what the Jaguars present?
I think as a whole, their running game, we were just talking about in our pregame meeting that the Jaguars running game and Trevor Lawrence as well. I mean, this is a team for sure that you talk about it with the Eagles, and they say there's playmakers on this. I mean, it's pro football. They've got stars as well, and the Eagles aren't taking it lightly. I think as a whole, especially we've seen at times this Eagles defense takes a while to get going. They don't want to get a hole in this with this Jaguars team. So I think, especially talking to the Eagles guys on defense, they want to start fast. They want to make plays because it's been taking a little bit to get the system down. And you can see at times the first couple of drives for this Eagles defense, a little bit of confusion. So I don't think they can definitely take this lightly here today.
Wrapping up with Ashlyn Sullivan, formerly of the Jacksonville Jaguars, now with NBC Sports Philly on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Shlyn, big picture question before we get a score prediction from you. Culturally, now that you've worked with 2 NFL outfits, multiple coaching regimes, I'm curious how this Eagles team has been built, the change at coordinator, but the consistency of Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, versus what you saw, and I know it was only a few months that you were with Doug Pederson, Trent Baalke, and the group here. What is kind of your perception of where both these two teams, one certainly has a winning record, the other one has a losing record, but where both these teams are headed in terms of how they are constructed? Essentially a long way of asking you, what's the belief in Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia versus the vibe about Doug Pederson's longevity in Jacksonville from that Philadelphia perspective?
Yeah, I would say here in Philadelphia, I realized very quickly patience is not a virtue here in Philadelphia. There is a standard here that, frankly, I didn't see in Jacksonville. That's just, I think, the market that we're in up here is that you are expected to be a Super Bowl contender, and that's the way they built this roster. So Nick Sirianni, no secret, is definitely, there's a microscope under him, and it's been a roller coaster because 3 weeks ago, there was major conversation if he was going to make it. Now this Eagles team looks a lot better, and it's starting to look a lot better. It's just the standard here with the Philadelphia Eagles. I see what's going on, of course, in Jacksonville with Coach Pederson, and it just seems like up here in Philadelphia, it wouldn't take that long to make a decision. But I get it's different markets, right? And I also see the point of not going through the merry-go-round of always hiring new people and having some consistency. You see both sides of it. But I definitely think for the Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, just look what they did in free agency, signing Saquon Barkley to all this money. You do that when you believe you're going to win a Super Bowl here in a couple of years, and that's definitely the standard here. If the Eagles, for some reason, disappoint here at the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if they do bring in a new coach because it's very clear they're in win-now mode here in Philadelphia.
All right, Shlyn, last look at mybookie.ag. The Philadelphia Eagles 7.5-point favorites heading into this. Actually, the line has shifted slightly. The Eagles now 7-point favorites for today's ball game at 4:05 p.m. at Lincoln Financial Field. What's your score prediction for today's matchup in the Ashlyn Sullivan Bowl?
I don't know if everyone's calling it that. I think just us are calling it that, but I do have the Eagles winning this game. I think you just look at the difference in these rosters. I think the Eagles are starting to believe in themselves. I think there's definitely some momentum here. I have the Eagles winning 30-21 over the Jaguars, and I think people are a little bit surprised that I'm giving the Jaguars 21 points. That's because I still think you're seeing some confusion and some slow starts with this Eagles defense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars get an early lead, but the Eagles have that fight to them. We've seen a lot of good fourth-quarter comebacks where I do think the Eagles pull off this one. Yeah, Hayes, you mentioned it, and Ashlyn, please, if you could chime in. The Eagles have not scored in the first quarter? Yeah. Really? It's a big thing here. We talk about it. It's really weird. We talk about it every single week in the locker room, and the players just seem to not have the answers for it. I was talking to Vontae Smith about it, and he said the biggest problem they're having is when they go through film study during the week, the defense, what they're seeing on tape, isn't what they're seeing on the field. And I asked, okay, well, every other NFL team certainly has to go through that. The offense is having a hard time adjusting. It's very clear. It seems like NFL defenses have found a way to slow down this Eagles offense with unpredictability. And as of right now, the Eagles offense hasn't been able to solve it. They figure it out eventually when they see a couple runs through a couple drives. But the first couple of drives, the Eagles offense frankly looks slow and confused because what they saw on tape isn't what they're seeing on the field. So it's definitely a really weird thing going on. I'll be curious if it's Ryan or Rick Nielsen, at defense coordinator.
That drought ends today, Ashlyn. That I can guarantee you, because Ryan Nielsen will be running the Jaguars defense. So the confusion will be at a minimal for Sirianni and troops.
I love that positivity.
Ashlyn, we appreciate catching up with us, for joining us on the Terminix Kickoff Show and Behind Enemy Lines. You are the best, Shlyn. Enjoy the game today.
Thank you, guys. Good talking to you.
And again, you can find her on X at Ashlyn R. Sullivan. Does a great job, covers the Flyers now. She self-admitted, said it when she got the job up at NBC Sports Philly. Hadn't really covered a whole heck of a lot of hockey, spending her entire life up to that point in the Sunshine State, but does a great job covering the Flyers, the Eagles, and so much more up in Philadelphia.
Absolutely. Great job setting that up.
Absolutely. Still a whole lot to do here on the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade. Our keys to the game, brought to you by Instant Keys, are coming up next. He's Carl Lyon. I'm Mia O'Brien. We'll be right back right here on the Superstation, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
There's something special about radio play-by-play. Always has been. In Jacksonville, your place for play-by-play is 1010XL.
There's no way to prepare for the impact an accident makes on your life. That's why we've spent 40 years getting ready for that moment when you need compassion and immediate action. The right doctors, investigators, our team of experienced attorneys, and your free consultation is already in place. So if you've been hurt, remember, the Farah safety net is right here to catch you. All you have to do is call Farah & Farah. It's what we built. Jacksonville.
Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Go with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
Jags Hall of Famer Tony Baselli puts on his gold jacket every Monday morning at 7:20 on The Drill.
Does look good.
It's Hall of Fame Monday with Tony Baselli.
Good? It's great.
Brought to you by Heritage Roofing of North Florida on 1010XL.
Bull riding. The perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's the Michelob Ultra PBR Jacksonville at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, February 22nd and 23rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5. Clearwater scores.
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJacks.com.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a gravy taster from Jacksonville, Florida, me, Dennis Mosley.
Hi, Ken.
Okay, Dennis. 100 plumbers surveyed, top answer on the board. What does it mean if someone says your home has hard water?
It's made of ice? Let's see, hard water. Oh, is it club soda mixed 4-to-1 with vodka?
Last chance, Dennis. What is hard water?
Oh, is it that lime scale stuff that makes my taps all crusty?
That's right, Dennis. And a water treatment system from Bueller Air and Plumbing will eliminate troublesome lime scale deposits that can ruin your expensive appliances and let your neighbors know for sure that you are cool.
I wonder if I can get me a gin and tonic faucet.
Sprinkler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the keys to the game. Brought to you by Instant Keys. Fast, professional, honest locksmith service.
Mia O'Brien, Hayes Carline, the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade, rolling on right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM. As we look at today's keys to the game, Carline, for me, it has to start and end, especially with Dallas Goedert being out for this game for the Philadelphia Eagles with the duo of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Here is Ryan, I hope he's Ryan, maybe he's Rick Nielsen, earlier this week on the Eagles' dynamic wide receivers.
They've got some really good talent. He's playing at a high level since he's been back. Physical receiver, really physical, catch point, strong hands. He's really good on press coverage and getting off the line, and he has great speed. So it's going to be a good challenge. We've just got to play our game. We got to get in and make it a physical game for him. We got to play some coverage over the top so he doesn't just catch fade balls and things like that people are doing. But two really good receivers. And then the speed that Devontae has. He can take the top off any coverage, So just executing, we're going to have to play some shell to it. Definitely have to stay over the top of those guys and then mix it up. Just keep mixing up the coverages on him, and just so he doesn't get a single high read and goes out to the X or Z, every play.
Again, we know that Ronald Darby does not have an injury designation for this game, Hayes, and so in theory, Tyson Campbell continuing to find his footing after missing 5 weeks of the season with that hamstring injury. Buster Brown, who we heard from earlier in the program, continues to come on. I thought Trey Prince performed admirably, quite frankly, when he was thrust into action last week, played about 15 snaps in place of Darby in that rotation. They have guys. I just don't know if they have enough guys that can keep up with two of the preeminent wide receivers in the National Football League.
Without a doubt. And one thing they're going to have to be mindful of, the Eagles every week have a few 4th and 1s. It's just organically something that just always happens with Philadelphia. And it's, obviously the tush push and things like that. But what Philadelphia has started to do that the Jaguars need to be cognizant of is on those 4th and 1s, those short yardage, they've started taking shots to A.J. Brown, and they've hit 2 of them in the last couple of weeks. So it's something that the Jaguars those corners do need to be mindful of. Don't just assume that's going to be a Hurts sneak. And so that'll
especially
be a big
in light
key.
of what Malik Willis did to you last week with a 59-yard completion down the field. I don't know about you. We've hit on it a couple of times. And again, we are past Green Bay. We are on to Philadelphia. But I just had this nagging feeling inside of me as soon as I saw Andre Sisco creep down inside the box, knew that the Jags were going to try to crowd the box. Look, Malik Willis dropped back 5 times. Jalen Hurts is going to drop back a little bit more than that, I would think, today on that Jaguars defense.
Yeah, without a doubt. And this is always like a cliche kind of key to the game, but I think in this one it's specific because they both don't do it well. And that's taking the ball away. Neither Philadelphia or the Jaguars have done a good job with that. They each just have 4 on the season. And because of that, they've been bad in turnover margin. The Eagles are -4, which is tied for 25th in this league coming into today. And then the Jaguars are -5. And so the giveaways really haven't been that big of a problem for either one of them. So protecting the football shouldn't be an issue for either side, you wouldn't think, but which defense can generate, if you get 2 in this game, that'd be half of what either side has gotten through the first half of the year. So neither defense doing a great job with that. Whichever one can generate 1 or 2 takeaways today will certainly go a long way to deciding the outcome.
I came in with a second key to the game on the offensive side of the ball for the Jags, but I'm going to combine it with that stat that Ashlyn Sullivan just gave us, and you brought up even earlier in today's program, Hayes. The Philadelphia Eagles have not scored in the first quarter throughout the course of the first half of the season. The Jaguars' offense has to start fast, and for me, for what is this now, the 5th straight week? For the 5th straight week, Jaguars, your offense needs to run through the run game. That's part of why, as Frank Frangie alluded to in the 11 a.m. hour of today's program, that's part of why Walker Little should give you an extra boost in the run game because he is more of a physical run blocker at that left tackle position. We asked Walker earlier this week about his play in his first start of the season.
No, I thought we had a good week as offense. Me personally, I got to clean things up in pass protection, and it was good. It was good to go against a really good group and figure things out with myself. So, but we got another really good test this week against Philadelphia, and we're going to work hard this week and have a good game plan. And so it's going to be a good week.
One thing going up against a stout Packers defensive front, and certainly I think you could compare the Packers defensive front and the Eagles defensive front because there's some crossover with the Georgia alums along both of those lines. And I think it's going to be an even tougher ask for Walker Little today. And this is with all due respect to one of our favorite people in the world, Cooper Hodges, who will make his first career start at left guard in place of Ezra Cleveland. Look, ultimately, Cooper's a mauler in the run game, but you have to also accept that there may be miscues, there may be jitters for a guy making his first career start. Hopefully there's not, but if there is, compared to having the steady Cleveland next to him, perhaps that means the Jaguars will ask a little bit more of Walker Little at that left tackle position.
And I'm happy for Walker getting this opportunity. He doesn't have to worry about looking over his shoulder. He doesn't have to worry about when is Cam going to be healthy or not suspended. So I'm looking for, I don't know how well he'll do, but I'm looking forward to seeing a long stretch of runway for Walker Little to finally show what he can do as a mainstay in the offense.
Yes, undoubtedly, because look, the Jaguars were a better team in 2022 when he was on the field. He graded out as the best offensive lineman during the first 4 weeks of 2023. I understand they went 2-2 in that stretch, but ultimately, I think the rumors of Walker Little's regression were greatly exaggerated. And this notion of, well, when Cam Robinson plays, the team is X and X and they have a winning record. And that was the big talk coming into week 18 last year in Nashville. And then what happened? The 5 offensive linemen that the Jaguars said they wanted together on the field ultimately couldn't get it done, not just throughout the duration of that game, but literally on the goal line when you needed them most. And I think the continued growth of Walker Little has been recognized by this coaching staff, and they do want to reward him.
Yeah, absolutely. And so hopefully he'll stay healthy and really make the most of this run, a very important financially next 2-3 months for Walker Little.
Yes, an extended audition for him, just like it's an extended audition for Parker Washington. And whether it's this regime making the decisions this offseason or another, if you say you have something in Parker Washington, then perhaps the report from Adam Schefter yesterday of ESPN that Christian Kirk, if he had not broken his collarbone, could have been shipped off to Pittsburgh later this week. Look, maybe there would have been some legs to that because you feel like you found something in your 6th round pick from a year ago in 2023. One more key to the game brought to you by Instant Keys for me, Hayes. You brought up, and I'm so glad you did, we really should have gone back and found our preseason prediction, our schedule predictions. Don't roast us. We had the Jaguars with a much better schedule at this juncture, a much better record at this juncture of the season than they actually do at 2-6. But yes, your iconic line of Vic Fangio is going to eat Press Taylor for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Here's Trevor Lawrence on Fangio's defense.
He's been on a few different teams, obviously, as of recent, and then his coaching tree is pretty big, too. So, I mean, you look at Chargers are that similar. When Staley was there, that defense was a similar system. And Denver played against them, like a similar scheme. And then my rookie year played against them in Denver, too. So, yeah, I mean, he's just he well-coached defense. They know what to do. Everything looks the same, really good disguises. It all comes out of this shell. Then at the snap, it changes, and they do a good job of disguising some pressures. They mix the fronts up. It's not a group that pressures a ton necessarily. They just seems like they do it at the right time. They're on the same page. They really stress your protections when they do. They like to get one-on-ones up front. This D-line is a really good group, so they play to their strengths. And then the guys in the back end, they fly around. These backers are really physical, very physical. And then the back end is smart, and they got good ball skills, and they're all playing together. So I think you see their defense every week. You watch the season, they've gotten better and better every week.
I don't know if I would use they don't pressure as much as I would blitz if I'm Trevor Lawrence, because yes, in terms of blitz rate, the Philadelphia Eagles are in the middle of the pack in the National Football League. But over the last 3 weeks of the season, they have the second highest pressure rate, and they have generated the most sacks of any team in the National Football League.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough scheme to go against. And, again, that's why it's such a great point that you made. Just lean into the ground game, and that'll eliminate a lot of that if you're just able to be physical and generate, some good gains on the ground and keep Trevor Lawrence in advantageous down and distance situations. So if they can do that, they'll have a chance. The Jaguars also need to show some toughness in the fourth quarter. I mean, they've been outscored 79-43 this season in the fourth quarter. That's pathetic. I mean, it speaks to the coaching being awful. I mean, that obviously goes without saying, because at that point in the game, each side's played probably 45 snaps. So you've kind of showed your cards a little bit. The opposing coaches have been able to have, an ace up their sleeve more often than the Jaguars. And it's also an execution thing. I don't think it's a strength and conditioning problem. I think the Jaguars are fine there. But in terms of just having that edge to your play late, in the final frame, and to be outscored, 36 points in the fourth quarter, it just speaks to a team that's poorly coached and just doesn't believe they're going to win these games.
And ultimately, as Ashlyn Sullivan just told us, the Philadelphia Eagles are the opposite of that. Yes, they have slow starts. They have not scored in the first quarter of any ball game this year, but then they pour it on in the second half of games. You don't want to be a second half team, but you've shown resiliency. You've shown and proven to yourselves that you can pull yourself out of a hole. And that speaks to that toughness and that identity that I feel like, besides onboarding, has been the biggest buzzword over the last year and a half here in Duval County. Those are our keys to the game, brought to you by Instant Keys. One more segment to go here on the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade. We will make our score predictions for today's game at 4:05 p.m. up in Philadelphia. We also will be joined by Rick Ballou live from Philadelphia. Don't go anywhere. The Terminix Kickoff Show rolls on right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called The Vault. Enter today at everbank.com/shadows. One winner and a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents in 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry periods for the Shadow Sweepstakes promotion from 8/19/24 to 12/15/24. For official rules and complete details, visit everbank.com/shadows. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A. member FDIC.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Go with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
When mice and rats show up in your space, they can be a real pain. You need them out fast before they have time to multiply. Terminix knows how to shut down rodents, and they'll keep them from coming back to wreak more havoc. When rodents show up, so do we. Don't live with a rodent problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com.
Follow the Canes as they storm the ACC.
I'm 1010XL's JJ LaSelva, and every week I'll bring you the Miami news and notes you need to know.
The Performance Painting Hurricane Report on 1010XL. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Mia here for MyBookie. Have you hit any bets yet this week? Our listeners have been killing it betting with MyBookie, turning spreads, over-unders, and prop bets into straight cash, homie. If you haven't heard, it's Florida-Georgia week. On Saturday, the action pops off with the Gators 16-point dogs to the Bulldogs. The over-under game total is 52 points, one of the most bet-on games of the season, so keep an eye on the lines. You know it doesn't stop there. On Sunday, you have a projected shootout between the Cowboys and the Falcons and a 52-point over-under total. The Dolphins-Bills game, 49 for the game total, and the Lions-Packers is a 48-point game total. Jacksonville goes to Philly as a 7.5-point underdog to the Eagles, and you cap it off with Sunday Night Football. The Joe Flacco-led Colts travel to play the Vikings. MyBookie still has the double deposit bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. It's the best deposit sign-up bonus in the industry, folks. Sign up now with promo code 1010XL and make yourself a winner with MyBookie.
3D
Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
The Terminix Kickoff Show.
Presented by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch on 1010XL.
Before we say hello to our friend Rick Ballou live in Philadelphia, let's quickly run through the rest of the AFC South. Of course, the Houston Texans have already played this week, a 21-13 loss at the hands of the New York Jets. Carline, you told me as soon as you walked in, that is just a horrendous loss for the AFC South division leader.
It really was when you think about it. So the Jets had a touchdown that they didn't get because Corley dropped the ball short of the goal line. So it was a fumble, it was a touchback, Houston gets the ball. So that's a touchdown right there that you gave away. The Jets then had personal foul penalties on a Houston punt on like 4th and 21 that turned into obviously a first down. On a Texans field goal, they get another personal foul, extending another drive. So the Jets beat the Texans despite giving away a touchdown and then basically committing 2 turnovers that don't show up in the box score as turnovers with idiotic personal foul penalties, and the Texans still lost to a mediocre Jets team. That's what's so frustrating about this. Houston is not any good at all. They are a mediocre team, and they're beat up.
Their offensive line certainly has questions.
Big questions.
Big questions,
but,
and they're the most penalized offensive line in football.
Yeah, but this team is so terrible that they can't take advantage of it. It is so frustrating. And, I mean, I think you look at what Houston has left, I would not be the least bit surprised if they finish 9-8. And it's just so it's there.
They are 6-3 right now for those of you keeping score at home.
It would be a swoon, but they tried to give the Jaguars the game. The Jaguars just wouldn't take it. Every time I've watched Houston, I've been shocked at how, in my opinion, mediocre they are. I thought they were a team that could really ascend. Not happening.
Well, speaking of mediocre, it's the Mediocre Bowl up in Nashville today. No Will Levis as the Tennessee Titans host the 2-6 New England Patriots, who are coming off of a win over the aforementioned New York Jets. Again, no Will Levis in this game. Any chance?
It feels, I think they're both, obviously terrible. So
rebuilding years, reloading years, first-year head coaches.
Yeah, it'll probably be, one of those 1st to 17 wins the game, kind of contest. But yeah, I would think these two teams, along with Carolina, they're right in the mix for the number 1 pick. There doesn't appear to be some generational quarterback awaiting to be selected in this draft, but you still want to have the number 1 pick if you're going to have to go through a lousy year. I think you'd like to kind of see the Titans win this one because they're not going to get into contention. And if they could come in at with the 4th pick as opposed to the 1st pick, that would probably be better for the Jaguars.
And finally, the Indianapolis Colts, Sunday Night Football up in Minnesota. Cam Robinson will make the start at left tackle for the Minnesota Vikings despite arriving late Wednesday and early Thursday up in Minneapolis. The Indianapolis Colts, of course, will start Joe Flacco, not Anthony Richardson. You know what, Hayes? Before we react to this one, let's bring in our friend Rick Ballou live from Philadelphia.
Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Hello. We can wiggle it.
You get him weeknights here on the Superstation, 6 to 8 p.m. into the night. He is live for us, boots on the ground in Philadelphia. Rick, I'm sure you just heard while you were on hold our run-through of the AFC South. Is that the most frustrating part of all of this in terms of the Jaguars' 2-6 start to the season, the fact that the division has felt winnable throughout the first 8 weeks of the season?
Yeah, I think it's a huge part of it. And then if you look at the games that they let get away, they very easily could have 3 more wins. And, Doug Pederson even said that, after the loss last week to Green Bay, and that actually could have been a 4th game that they could have won if you look at the, the first couple against Cleveland and Houston, and obviously, the opener at Miami. Pederson said that it's usually a play here, a play there, or a mistake here, a mistake there, and that's been the difference. Unfortunately for the Jaguars, though, it seems like they're always on the other side of that bad play.
Without a doubt, Rick. How do you think it'll go in the trenches today for the Jags?
I'm really interested to see this. Philadelphia is such a physical football team, even though they lost a little bit off of the offensive line this past year, and they're down there starting left tackle. I think that that's the one possibility that Jacksonville, if they were going to pull off the upset today, Fred Johnson making his third start, that's been a downgrade at left tackle. We'll see if Josh Hines-Allen has a good afternoon. But, they run the ball so effectively. They're second in the NFL, 166 yards on the ground with Saquon Barkley, and obviously Jalen Hurts is so versatile. I think it's going to be a difficult game. I also believe that, Philly gets up here, and that's really saying something because, as poor as Jacksonville has been in the first quarter, where they average only 2.5 points, Philadelphia hasn't scored a point yet in the first quarter in 7 games. It's really an amazing statistic considering they're a top 10 scoring offense and a very good football team, a top 10 scoring defense. But I think the battle in the trenches today absolutely is one of the aspects of this game that absolutely favors the Philadelphia Eagles.
Rick, I know you previously traveled to Buffalo for that ill-fated Monday Night Football game, Week 3. In terms of how many Jags fans, the support for Duval up there in Philadelphia, I'm assuming it's a little bit less than what you saw in your travels to Buffalo.
Yeah, I was out last night, and I saw a few, not as many as Buffalo. This is a bigger city in Philadelphia. I don't think there's any question about that, and obviously a lot of football has been played since that loss against the Bills. I will say the plane over, though, filled with Jaguar fans. So Jacksonville continues to really represent out on the road. But, yeah, to have as many as we saw last month in Buffalo, I think that would be a stretch.
What's the weather look like today?
Yeah, I went out and took a walk this morning. I guess the folks around here would probably refer to it as brisk. I was freezing. It was windy. It was cold. I'm guessing it was in the, maybe 50 degrees or something along those lines. But, it just looks like it's going to be a fairly calm late afternoon game, possibly with a little bit of wind. And now with the time change, it's going to get dark here an hour earlier. So that second half will be absolutely, played at night. And, I think these guys actually will like it, though. They train, obviously, where it's so hot with that humidity in Jacksonville. I would think for them that this would be perfect playing conditions with this game getting set to get underway in a couple of hours.
Rick Ballou joining us from Philadelphia on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Rick, I know you alluded to the trenches, but the Jaguars win this ball game and shock the world if blank.
Philadelphia can make mistakes with the football. And unlike Green Bay, who came in last week, who had 17 forced takeaways, you look at Philadelphia, they only have 4. Okay, Jacksonville has 4, 3 of which come on the defensive side. They have that fumble recovery off of the punt that Daniel Thomas fell on top of. But this is not a great turnover takeaway team. They're -4. Jalen Hurts at times can be reckless with the football. So I think that, you can make this point on any given Sunday, but it really applies today because no matter which way you look at this game, Philadelphia is the better team. They are a top 10 team in virtually every category except for what we talked about earlier when it comes to scoring points right out in the first quarter where they haven't done it this year. Second thing is, can the Jaguars – they had 27 takeaways last year. They had 27 takeaways in 2022. It's really incredible that they've only had 3 defensive takeaways so far in 8 games this year. Maybe a strip sack. If you get by Fred Johnson, the left tackle, possibly. Could we see a little bit more as far as a blitz today? And I know that's kind of a stretch considering the Jags right now are 32nd in the NFL when it comes to blitzing. But I think that's how you win. You force takeaways, and hopefully they're on your side of the field, and you push across some easy touchdowns as a result of that.
What would you like to see the offensive game plan be today for the Jags?
Yeah, I'd like to see him come out and throw the football. We've seen all these numbers that have come out this week that Trevor Lawrence leads the NFL in the most completions of 20 yards or more, that Brian Thomas Jr., and I guess we'll know officially coming up, but it's feeling more and more like he's got a chance after being told that he was going to be out initially 2 to 4 weeks. We'll see what happens there. But I would like to see this opportunity. I'd like to see this team at least try to do some of those things. No one has picked them to win. Don't keep it close to the vest. Don't be afraid to make some mistakes. If a mistake is you throw a football, 45, 50 yards downfield and it ends up getting picked off, okay, it's almost like a punt. But instead of nibbling here and nibbling there and having it be just so ridiculously predictable, I think when you're 2-6 and you're a big dog, you got to take some chances, both on offense and on defense. And I hope that this team takes some shots today.
As we get set to make our score predictions and our final thoughts, Rick Ballou, what say you? What is your score prediction for today's matchup between the Jags and the Eagles?
Well, again, I think it's very low scoring in the first half. I think both teams will struggle to put up some points. And then I see Philadelphia really settling in. They're so loaded offensively. I think when it's all said and done, points will be tough to come by for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to say today a 27-17 Philadelphia victory. They add on some points late in the game. But I think that this is going to be, a football game for 45-plus minutes. I see it being one possession, maybe a tiny bit more than that throughout. But when it's all said and done, I think Philadelphia wins it by 10.
Follow along live from Philadelphia as Rick Ballou has us covered at Ballou 1010XL on X. Rick, we appreciate you stopping by. Enjoy your afternoon up there in Philly.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Rick Ballou has the Philadelphia Eagles winning this one. Hayes Carlyon, you've been on record and said that this is it. This is the last stand, although I think we said that last week about the Jaguars game against the Green Bay Packers. What is your score prediction for today's game?
Yeah, I think tough putt today. I've got the Eagles 38, Jaguars 23, so I think the Eagles win convincingly.
Dylan Denmark, what say you?
34-17 Eagles.
Oof, all right. Everybody here's got big-time double-digit victories for Philadelphia, the home team. Again, mybookie.ag has the Jaguars now as 7-point underdogs in this game. It was 7.5 on Friday when we made our predictions on helmets and heels, so I guess I have to stick by that. I have the Jags covering. I think this will be another heartbreaking affair for Jacksonville. They lose this one. Let's say 24-18, a little scoregami, if you may, Carlyon. We've seen that a time or two before. Maybe Doug Pederson tries to go for 2 and shocks the world a little bit. We noted at the top of the program that this is very interesting for us having the Terminix Kickoff show beginning at 11 a.m., and so we do have the opportunity to look at the actives and inactives around the National Football League for that 1 o'clock slate. We mentioned that Will Levis will not play for Tennessee, a couple of other ones before we let you guys go. If you're updating your fantasy lineup at the very last minute. T. Higgins inactive, Zach Moss, Jermaine Burton, a healthy scratch out in Cincinnati, which is an interesting situation.
Yeah, skip the walkthrough.
Amari Cooper, also an inactive for the Buffalo Bills today. Javon Holland, Brian Robinson Jr., DJ Chark, Deontay Foreman, all out in that 1 o'clock slate. Tony Pollard, Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel, all active. And yes, we will end with this. Anthony Richardson, according to Jordan Schultz of Fox and Bleacher Report, does have some potential suitors. There are teams who have called the Indianapolis Colts about the possibility of trading for the second year.
The Toronto Argonauts are on the phone.
What comes of this? What becomes of the Florida Gators' former quarterback, Hayes Carlyon?
It's never going to work. I mean, I don't think. And they're right to go to Joe Flacco. They're right in the mix. I mean, they have a chance to make the playoffs. So Flacco's playing really well for them. I think they had to make this call. He's just far superior to Richardson right now.
I do think, though, with Minnesota coming off of a somewhat surprising loss, I mean, look, the Los Angeles Rams are better than what they have been by virtue of the injuries that they've suffered, especially along that offensive and defensive line. Jared Verse has been awesome, but let's be real. When Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are less than 100%, that entire operation is going to be less than 100%. So maybe a surprising loss for the Vikings. Lots of folks on our media beat here in Jacksonville, Hayes, have said to me more than once in the last few weeks that at some point in time, which of course the Minnesota Vikings do travel to Jacksonville next Sunday, at some point in time, Sam Darnold is going to remember that he is Sam Darnold. I don't think it's tonight against the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll go the other way. I think the Colts, they're 5.5-point underdogs. I think they win the game outright. I just think with Flacco, they stay on schedule, and defensively, the Colts have some tenacity to them. So I do worry that the Vikings are taking a little bit of a dip. So I think the Colts get it done tonight.
I would love to see nothing more than the Vikings get it done, because then maybe possibly that opens the door for, a little sleeping on the Jags.
Yeah.
This is now the second straight week. We heard it from Ashlyn Sullivan today. We heard it last week as well from Rob Domofsky of ESPN with Green Bay, that this is viewed as a trap game. The Philadelphia Eagles are viewing today's game as a trap game, just as the Green Bay Packers did a week ago. Hey, maybe the Vikings do next week. And maybe somehow, some way, the Jaguars are able to get their third victory, maybe even fourth victory throughout the course of what is a gauntlet here in the middle part of the season. Our thanks to Frank Frangie for joining us live up in Philadelphia. Rick Ballou as well. Of course, you get both of those gentlemen Monday to Friday right here on the Superstation. Our thanks to Ashlyn Sullivan for joining us from NBC Sports Philadelphia. And, of course, if you missed any of today's program, you can hop on over to the 1010XL YouTube channel and listen to it on demand before the Jaguars kick things off up in Philadelphia at 4:05 p.m. You will get that game right here on the Superstation with Frank Frangie, the Hall of Famer Tony Baselli, Jeff Lageman, and Bucky Brooks on the call. For Hayes Carline, for Dylan Denmark, I am Mia O'Brien saying so long. This has been the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade. I promise I'm not wearing this green sweatshirt for the Eagles, folks. It's all thanks to our friends at Terminix that power this kickoff show each and every Sunday. We'll be live at Tailgaters Parking next week. But for now, let's send it on over to Brian Sexton, JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey and company for the Publix Kickoff Show right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.